Hey, what's up guys? My name is Michael Westbrook. As always, thank you for watching this video. If you're not familiar with me and this channel, I'm fortunate enough to call myself a full-time musician, and depending on the day, it looks different, right? Some days I am out on the road. I play for an artist named Crowder as a multi-instrumentalist. I play guitar and pedal steel and banjo and all kinds of different things. Other days I'm here in my home studio recording tracks for other artists or working in other studios. And then when I have some free time, I make content here on YouTube. Today I want to talk about practice and how I go about practicing, how I think about it, how I approach different things. And I think this is one of those subjects where depending on who you ask, you're gonna get a different answer, right? You could ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers. They could range from I don't practice at all to I have a very lengthy regimented practice schedule and I don't miss a day. But I'm gonna give you guys my insights on how I approach it, how I think about it, some things that I try to accomplish with my practice time, and hopefully that's helpful for you and wherever you're at. So let's jump right in. I do want to say what I mean by practice. I mean very intentional, specific time, working on our instrument, working on our weaknesses, exploring different things that we want to get out of our playing. I don't necessarily mean just picking up the guitar for 5 or 10 minutes or playing a few songs here and there throughout your day. That's not to say that's not very important and enjoyable, but when I'm talking about practice, I mean this time that we are specifically using to improve in some way or another. I think that to get better at our instrument, we need self-awareness. We need awareness of our weaknesses and the things that we need to improve on, but we also need awareness of what we're good at and what our strengths are, what are the things that come natural to us. I think that this is something that I've tried to keep in mind with my practice and when I'm working on things here as of late. And that's just that I want to be working on the things that I feel like need improvement, but I also want to be thinking about my own strengths, my own voice, what I bring to different musical situations, and how to embrace that even more, how to bring that out even more, how to lean into those strengths to make them even more a part of what I do. So I think whether I'm trying to improve on a weakness or kind of embrace these strengths, it requires this element of problem solving. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I go about improving on something? Now, this is where it's super handy to be working with somebody who's better than you, a mentor or a teacher, something like that. I haven't been able to do that consistently in a very long time. So I kind of just pull from my experience. I pull from years of studying with different teachers and then also just online resources. If I want to, there have been times when I've wanted to improve on my speed or get faster, then I'm looking up different things to do for that and different ways to try to tackle these different things that come up in my playing. For me, a lot of times it's that I find myself in musical situations and I'm like, man, this doesn't sound as good as I would like it to. Maybe my rhythm or my feel just isn't quite what I want it to be, or maybe it's a musical situation that's a style that's a little outside of my norm, or maybe I don't really know what to play, or I don't feel like I have any good ideas musically. So there are going to be different ways that I go about working on these. As far as whether it's building vocabulary or improving my timing or my feel, maybe getting a better handle on how to approach a style with different voicings or different types of parts. But I'm constantly kind of analyzing all of these things when I'm in different musical situations and making this mental list of, okay, this is something I should revisit, when when I'm at home or when I have a minute with my instrument to kind of work on different things. This brings me to the next big idea for me, and that's I have moved away from doing a lot of exercises. I don't really practice scales. I've even gotten away from practicing with a metronome. I've really tried to kind of embrace this idea of musical practice, that I'm always trying to be more musical when I'm practicing. I think for years, there was so long that I was practicing scales, I was practicing with a metronome, and I didn't always feel like it improved my playing when I was out in different musical situations. And so I think over time, and especially the last couple of years, I've really tried to make whenever I practice more musical. So that means rather than practicing with a metronome, I've definitely kind of embraced practicing with drum loops or jam tracks. Just things that are going to help me work on things in a little more of a musical setting. A metronome is not necessarily the most inspiring thing. It's not the most what we would call musical as far as something that we're going to play with out in the real world or in a musical situation. So for me, making sure that I'm practicing to something that's a little more like what I would play with is just feels more natural to me, and I think ultimately is making me better in the sense of being more musical. Now, this also comes for me in that whenever I pick up the guitar, I'm trying to play more musically, and that's kind of a general term. It's kind of hard to put your finger on what exactly that means, but for instance, I'm trying to get away from noodling and trying to sit down and play a song or play something that would be in a song, rather than just play random ideas and string all these random things together. Another element of my practice time that I feel like is kind of helping me be more musical and think more musically is just learning different songs, learning different parts, playing along with recordings, all of these types of things. I mean, there's so much gold. I know some guys and some pros and session guys, it's like they say that's the only way to practice is just learning recordings, learning parts, transcribing solos and transcribing parts and figuring it out. And ultimately, that is kind of the roadmap for what we do, right? All of these incredible players who've gone before us and have played on all these iconic records, whatever style that you like, there are those kind of trademark records or those kind of pinnacle records that we can all pull from. And so I've definitely tried to lean more into that, just because I find myself in these musical situations where I want different ideas or I want better ideas. And that's been a really great way for me to improve. I think at a certain point I got to where I wasn't worried as much about the proficiency side of playing, and it was more of the musical ideas. It's more of how do I contribute to the musical picture, rather than how do I play in time or how do I play the right notes. All right, guys, I want to wrap this up. Hopefully this has been helpful, just giving you some thoughts and insight on how I think about practice and just ideas around it. Hopefully it hasn't been too rambly. I do want to give you guys a couple of quick tips, just some things to remember. I think one, consistency is key. I find for myself, the more consistent I can be with my practice, the more it pays off. And it might not necessarily feel like it's paying off immediately. It is a long road, but that's where the consistency comes into play. I think when you look back over the course of a year or two, you really start to see how it pays off. Another quick tip would be to always try to record yourself, whether you're recording yourself like in a DAW with your computer, kind of a more professional type recording situation, or if it's just your phone. Whatever the case, I think all of those ways, any way that you can record yourself is going to be helpful. For whatever reason, there tends to be a breakdown with how we hear ourselves when we're playing and then how it sounds when we listen back to it. This can be for better or worse. Sometimes we sound worse than we thought we did, and sometimes we sound better than we thought we did. But whatever the case, it's good to get another perspective on how what you're playing is actually coming across. This also goes back to the first point as far as when you consistently do this, then you can go back and hear yourself, maybe a year or two in the past and really see your improvement. It makes it easier to realize that you've improved on certain things, or maybe you realize that, oh, I've been working on this, but I don't think it's really sounding any better. So maybe I need to tweak my approach. Maybe I need to do some more of that problem solving to figure out how to make it better. All right, the last quick tip I want to leave you guys with is this idea of that you want to practice how you play because you play how you practice. And I think the big idea here is that we want to minimize the differences between how we practice and then how we, ultimately play in a musical setting. Because then that's going to maximize our practice time. It's going to minimize the amount of differences between the two so that, what we work on in our practice time has the, path of least resistance to transfer to our actual musical settings, right? So for instance, one way that I think about this as an electric guitar player, as much as I can, as much as it's practical, I try to practice plugged into an amp or plugged into a modeler, plugged into my pedal board. I want to practice with all of the things that I would be using in a musical setting, and I want it to sound the same. Sitting around practicing with an electric guitar not plugged in, I'm going to play differently. I'm going to hit the strings maybe a little harder or a little differently. It's just going to be a very different experience than how I'm actually playing in musical settings. And I think if we can minimize those differences, then it means that we are practicing in the exact same way that we're actually going to be playing. That's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you for checking out this video, especially if you made it this far. Leave me a comment down below. Just let me know what you thought of this video. It's a little outside of the norm for me, so I'd love you guys' feedback. All right, until next time, I'll see you out there.